Hey everybody, Dave Forrest here with my good friend Harvey Lowe, Garage Studio Modelers. We're back.
We're back.
We're back. It's been almost 3 years.
Amazing, eh?
Yeah, it's been a long time, and that's mostly my fault. My dad was pretty ill, and I had to take care of him. And I got a promotion at work, and that took a lot of my time as well. So. Which is good news, gives me more disposable income for the hobby, right? But we're back, and we're gonna try and we're gonna work with Robert behind the scenes here to get episodes out on a fairly regular basis going forward. But today we're just gonna start and talk a little bit about what we've been doing while we're off, right? So this is just a small sample, well, maybe a small sample for Harvey. Right, because Harvey, you retired.
Yeah,
which
much has happened.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic, like you said, it's been almost 3 years, and things are changing in everybody's lives. Like the biggest change for me is I retired. Technically, although I still do the occasional pieces of work here and there, most of my work now is modeling. That's all I do. Some people think, is that a dream job? Well, it is and isn't, because you got deadlines. But yeah, it's what I do now, and I think I might have completed 20 models maybe since over the last 3 years. And I think today we're going to talk a bit about some of the samples of the models that we built over the last 3 years. And if I might just want to add, we do read all the comments. I've been reading all the comments from the episodes in the past, and we're sorry that we can't get back to everybody, but we do read them, and we know that everyone's asking.
Yeah,
right. You go on the show.
Yeah, I mean, people come up to us at shows and say, "Hey, when are you guys kicking off the videos again?" Yeah. So obviously, and we really enjoy it, or I enjoy doing this very much. I love the process. I love our conversations.
Yeah.
I love sharing techniques and what we've learned. We also may start doing some reviews of products, right? Again, all from our own pocketbooks. Like we're not, nobody sponsors us, so this is all our own money.
Yeah.
So you'll get honest reviews of new model kits and whatnot and products that are coming out. But let's get
right into it. So Dave brought in 3 examples of the models he's done in the past 3 years. I've brought in 3 examples of mine, and we'll just talk about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so we'll start with the Panzer III AT. So this was actually the last model that I was working on before we kind of shut things down for a little bit. And this is the Tamiya kit out of the box. Beautiful kit, as all Tamiya kits are these days, especially. Like they just fall together. And this was really just a kind of a weathering and painting project. But the kit really doesn't need anything else. Like it has Lincoln length tracks. The barrel comes hollowed out. You get a little photo etch screen for the engine grill at the back. Like that Tamiya nickel photo. It's not really brass, but it's kind of that nickel photo. But it works very well. It's all this thing needs.
All in the kit, or did you do any aftermarket?
No, that's all in the kit.
Wow.
This is purely out of the box.
Nice. Now this 3 years ago was when we did our last episode. Was it released out back then? About 3 years ago, then
the kit? Yeah, it just come out. Yeah, that's. And I wanted to, something I wanted to do on the channel because it was a quick and easy build, and finished it actually kind of almost recently. Like it's sat.
Yeah, because you said we need to do some episodes. Yeah, I got to get something done.
I got to finish this out. So this was one of the 18 in progress builds I have. Right. So it was good to get this one out and done.
Well, let me ask you, Dave. I've seen this model in bright light up close, and Robert does a terrific job with the filming here. But I'm really amazed with your weathering, and maybe you can talk a bit about that because I looked at that. Were you using mostly powders?
Yeah. So this maybe I'll flip it over and you can see, because on the bottom is where there's a lot of weathering. This is powders and oils and enamels, right? So it's really like 3 things that I used to create that. And some I've kind of gotten away and tried a night shifts technique of using paste and then coloring that, spraying over it. But I find I keep coming back to pigments because they kind of suck up like oil stains very nicely, right? And you kind of work it in, blend it in. It has a bit of a texture to it. So I don't know. I know pigments have fallen out of favor lately, but I still like them. I still like
them
to
too.
use them.
It's got a nice 3D effect.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah,
and you didn't use the acrylic paste this time. This
No.
is all powders.
This is all
yeah.
powders.
See,
yeah.
it's hard to see, folks, but if you look at this closely, it's got that layered 3-dimensional. There's a bit of light mud, dark mud.
Yeah, and you can just play with the tones with washes, right, and oils, and kind of work it in. So this was a lot of fun. This was a lot of fun to do. So it's a great look if somebody's looking for kind of a palette cleanser build. This is a great option, right? It's a single color. You can really play with the Panzer Gray. I've got some blue tones in there. I like to use that kind of those bluish grays that come in the Tamiya lacquers. I don't know if they're I can't remember if they're gull gray or what they are, but they have a bit of a bluish hue. So start with the Panzer Gray and then kind of work those colors in and kind of lighten it up. Again, it's a bit of artistic license that we talked about in our 50 Shades of Panzer Gray episode. But
filters too, right? You use filters?
Yeah. Always use filters just to give the different panels a slightly different.
But that's your own mix, you're saying.
Yeah, and I just by eye. Like if you ask me to give you the ratios, I can tell you. I just gotta do it by eye.
Well, watch that episode on Panzer Grades.
Yeah. So let's enough about this. Let's talk about one of your
more armor. So that is pretty much out of box. And this, some of you may have seen this at shows.
This looks like an odd.
It's an odd beast.
Odd contraption.
This was done, I think, about 1.5 years ago. And if you want the details, I think it's in the October 2021 issue of Tamiya magazine. But this is at the other spectrum. Again, I build out of box a lot, but this one is a scratch build conversion. You can probably recognize it's Japanese, sitting on a Chiha chassis. And this is a 120 millimeter naval gun. I believe it's a Type 10 naval gun off a battleship, and it's essentially a 120 millimeter self-propelled Chiha that was operated by the naval forces in defense of Japan, and this is the ammo trailer. Is this a kind of what if? No, it's not.
So they actually built these.
Yeah,
They might not have fired a shot in anger.
No.
But they built these and they're fully intended to use them.
Yes, I think there's only one well-known photo of this. You can find it on the net. If you just type in like 120 millimeter Chiha, you'll find it. Of course, in Japan, maybe they've got other pictures, but it existed. And it did fire on training.
Okay.
Now, the readers out there, maybe some of you listening from Japan, you've got a lot more on it, but I've just remembered hearing that this vehicle, look, it even moves, eh? Let's see how it moves.
But you couldn't. Now, if I remember, you couldn't fire it in this position because if you did, the whole thing
might tip over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they'd have to kind of line up.
Yeah. I don't know how many they built. Yeah, you'd have to line it up like this. But it basically is a conversion scratch build. There is a Yellow Cat conversion, which gives you parts of the hull. See, the hull top is not exactly a Chiha. It's got these plates where the guys stand on. This is different. Yellow Cat does make one if you can get one, but it's not very good. The castings are rather poor. It's I think maybe 10, 15 years old now, very rare. So I ended up using that to make my own parts.
So those are scratch built.
Yeah,
basically.
These are all scratch built out of styrene. The gun itself is also mostly scratch built. I might have used 1 or 2 parts from the Yellow Cat kit, but if you guys are out there and want to do something different, you can always buy the conversion kit, but if it doesn't satisfy you, replace it if you want. I just replaced it because it was too crude.
Easy for you to say, Harvey. You're so good at scratch building. I don't know. For me, that's kind of a bit intimidating.
It just gives you something for your collection. By the way, these colors are what, through research, and some of the guys in Japan helped me out on this. Thanks, Taki. They were this color. They were not naval gray.
So is it like they were originally naval gray and there's like green over spray?
Yeah,
is that what this is?
The gun. You can kind of see in photos. It seems like it's camouflage. So I did the gun in naval gray with green.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, that makes. And again, some of it's conjecture.
But that's what but that's part of the art of the hobby.
Yeah.
Right? Is like if you have a picture and you kind of see something on the picture, but you don't have anything else, you've got to kind of draw conclusions from it that are logical.
That is a good point. So Where do you push the envelope? You know, we call them rivet counters, right? They're everywhere. But I think that if you have enough information out there to do something, but there's not enough information to disprove it, you can always push the envelope and say, all right, this could well have been, given the circumstances, until somebody actually comes out with a photo, then you can say, all right, I goofed up.
And at the end of the day, it is a hobby.
I mean,
we do this for fun in theory, right? So
except when you drop a piece on the carpet, you can't find it for 3 months, and it comes up 6 months later when you're not looking for it. But that's the Chiha, and it's in the Tamiya issue to look all the details.
It's a unique piece for sure.
Yeah, and same with you. I use pigments. Now, I didn't weather this a lot because they were fairly clean. This one, forgive me, it's in the magazine article. It's another company that makes the trailer, and I just replaced the tracks. But
what do you use for the tracks?
I believe it was from one of those Eastern European, late 30s. Polish tank cat, and I just cut them and kind of fitted them on. Because the ones in the kit were so bad.
Yeah, well, that's what you do, right?
They were so bad.
Yeah.
And everything comes off, and the gun moves, so I can play with it. Well, I mean, I can display it in different...
And how do you... So the empty shell casings there, which are really nicely done, how do you you just glue them on?
Yeah, I just glue them on.
Super glue?
I use it. In fact, good point. Sometimes I use a mixture of both. 5-minute epoxy and super glue, because then you know it's not going to move.
It's not going to go anywhere.
It's not going to go anywhere. But and again, I just throw them on for a different bit of contrasting color.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that works.
Fun little project.
Yeah,
right?
Nice.
There you go. Oh, and there's the bottom of that. Same techniques that Dave used. I steal all my techniques from Dave, and that gives you a bit of idea of how you can apply powders as well, not only on a Panzer Grey, but on other different color bases.
Nicely done.
Next, what do you got next, Dave?
Well, let's go to this guy. So, Sandy, our friend Sandy McCrory, who's been on previous episodes when we talked about like Panzer Grey and some of the British colors. He's been talking up the Tamiya 48 scale armor kits. So I finally broke down and got one, and now I am hooked. I love these things. They're great. They're easy to put together. There's a decent amount of aftermarket that's available for it. You can find it like B&A Model World in Australia has a lot of 48 scale aftermarket. So so this is the Stug 3G from Tamiya, and I added some stowage, so it's not out of the box. But again, the kits really don't need a whole lot. The earlier 48 scale kits have metal tubs for
why did they do that?
I don't know, to give it weight. And so thankfully they've moved, because you lose a little bit of detail on that. Thankfully they've moved away from that, but they still give you metal weights to insert into the plastic tub if you want. So I never put them in. I never bother, because I don't see what purpose it serves. I mean, it makes it feel a little bit heavier, but I don't know. Yeah, that's really the only reason. And this was a fun little project. This is when I was kind of working on vehicle stowage, because it adds something to the vehicle as opposed to having something that's depending on the historical context, of course, right? So with these, especially in Russia, obviously the German troops would put a lot of they would just pack stuff on, because you think about it, this was their home, right, for Panzer crew members, right? So they would have all of their stuff in the tank, outside of the tank, wherever they could fit stuff in. So I jammed a lot of stuff in between the side skirts and the hull, right? And I think this is not a hauler kit, Black Dog. I think I used some of the set from them to add some of the tarps, and I added in some jerry cans, and there's a little crewman jacket here.
I like the way that you used blue to provide a little color.
Yeah, I think it's
touch.
Yeah, I kind of learned this from Sandy, right? Like he always he has like a red jerry can or something on one of his vehicles. So I figured adding a little splash of color somewhere, I think kind of makes sense.
I love the Stug. It's just
it's a neat, and
I built a neat looking tank.
I built a 35th scale version, like the tack-on one as well. I just love that vehicle. I've got like in those 18 partially built kits I have, there's 3 Stugs in there, right? So I've got to get after those and start finishing those off.
It'll be interesting if you guys, and I said before, we read all the comments. I'd be curious to see how popular is 48th becoming more popular. How many guys are building it? I do see quite a few at shows. Of course, the dominant is 35th.
Yeah.
And of course, I build a 172nd as well, and there's a great following there. But I'm assuming that because I see more at shows, I'd be interested to see how many guys actually build.
Yeah, it's a great question. Yeah, and you do see more and more of them. Like they have their own category now in terms of 48 scale.
Then I've seen 135th aircraft too, right? The new 109 by who's it by?
Border models.
Border model, like 135th.
And the Stuka.
So it can fit with.
They're coming out with the Falco now too.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Right. See,
so it's funny, like, because it's the other
nice
thing too
size.
is it's like you move down.
Yeah, nice.
Right, like Mike Rinaldi talked about this, where you kind of, it's good to move up and down the scales.
Oh yeah,
it kind of enhances, forces you to think, look at things a little bit differently. Smaller you go, you've got to get a lot finer with the application of the weathering. Otherwise, you smother it.
Mm-hmm.
So it gives you that. It kind of sharpens your eye on things. I find. So I think it's a great. They're nice little kits. I think it's great for making you a better modeler overall. And they're a good size. So if you're space constrained, it's a great size. First time I did a figure, so I set him down very low, and he's got his hand over his head like this. He's like ashamed at how badly he's painted. If you look at it, right? I gotta get better at figures.
Then you gotta add goggles. You don't have to paint the eyes.
Yeah, or something, right?
Something
or just
like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
That's beautiful.
but it was a fun little build. So yeah, I gotta thank Sandy for being persistent. In his insistence.
Yeah, I'm working on one now. I finally broke down and working on a 148th. Maybe for another episode, a 148th Albion AM truck.
Oh,
World War
nice.
II. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah. It's
Is that the Airfix, right?
yeah, it's an Airfix refueler, but I'm converting it to a transport.
And is that a new build? Is that a new mold? Or
No,
has it been around for a while?
that's been around for. What's really odd. We'll talk about it at a different time. But have you guys ever figured that Airfix loves to release a model and then they discontinue it for a while? They did that with their Dornier DL17s.
Oh, the 172, yeah, the 72nd, yeah.
Couldn't get it. Now it's come back. The refueler, the Albion refueler, same thing. It was released about 3 years ago, and then you can't get it. It's gone. I'm sure they're going to bring it back, but I lucked out and got one fairly cheap on eBay.
Yeah.
I love.
Tacom does that too.
Yeah.
Edward does that. They all do that. They all they release a certain amount, and if they sell out, they sell out.
Right.
And maybe they print or generate
and
another
then the
batch.
prices go, and then the prices go down when they re-release. But yeah, there's lots of opportunities out there for 48th.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a great size. It's a great palette, and a lot of fun to build. I use decals for one of those Kagero top color books. So So you know how like the armor ones would give you 35th, and they give you 48th. So it's hard to It's a little hard. It's getting easier now, but it was hard at the time to find 48 scale. But I found those books great for that. So a lot of different subjects. So I picked one from the book, painted it, used it, and
nice tonal. Gradation between colors. It's like nice and subtle. Very nice.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of fun to build. So anyway, so that's that. So you'll probably see more 48 scale from at least me on the channel going forward. We'll do that.
So good segue, Dave, when you mentioned moving about in scales. So another one I did during the pandemic is this little guy. I do
small.
Yeah, it's tiny. It's you guys know what it is. It's Panzer 162 SDKFZ 162 Lang or something. L40. L48.
Yeah, something
L48.
Lang, yeah.
It's L48. So you can tell I'm into Japanese aircraft and less German armor. But I do love changing scales.
That's nice.
Right, like you said, Rinaldi's got it right. Like if you guys switch scales, it really does increase your skills in scale effect.
Yeah.
Right? Something that you do in a large 1/16th tank.
And subtlety.
It's
right? Yeah, you have to be very subtle.
Very subtle.
Yeah.
This one is the old Hasegawa release, 162. I've got it so long ago that it included photo etched Zimmered. And that's photo etched Zimmered. And I believe they gave me no. This is aftermarket. I got the side skirts aftermarket, and they're actually metal. I can't remember where I got them from, but you guys probably know more about these things than I do in terms of where you get stuff for this stuff. But the Zimmer was fabulous. They also released a resin.
So sorry, just on that point. So I'm not a big fan of photo etch Zimmerit in 35th scale.
Yeah, it's
but
true.
looking at this, it kind of works. It's more in scale for 70 seconds.
It did.
You know what I mean?
It did.
Like
it
I'm not
did.
like I just.
Like you mean in terms of consistent pattern, or it doesn't-
or just the depth of it.
Yeah.
Right. Like I find that
It's
like
too even.
the attack sets for 35th are much better than using the photo. I like the photo etch. I don't know. I have a few sets that I picked up at shows, and I think I'm just gonna toss them. Like
Well, because aren't they a little bit too?
they're too flat.
They're too flat.
Yeah,
That was
like
what I was looking for.
the etching process can only
Yeah.
get you so far with it, right? So that's why I find like the thin resin photo or Zimmerit is much better. But in this scale, it works.
I think it does, because in this scale, Zimmerit,
Yeah.
it doesn't need to have that great
And
gradient.
And I'll
levels.
flip it around on this side here. You can really see like the difference.
Yeah.
Like it's hand done.
It's
Like field applied, right?
yeah.
It looks actually they did a nice job with it, but it just doesn't seem to scale up to 35th as
True.
well.
You can get away with this scale.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, it's I use the typical approach of I love Tamiya and AK, but this one's all Tamiya colors, and using a very fine airbrush. I've another episode airbrushes. I used custom micron, and
So
I
you
want
use that.
I use it on this.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's believe me that if we're talking about airbrushes, but if it's something small like that. I had one of the guys in our club ask me, "Hey Harvey, what type of airbrush would you recommend? Should I get a custom micron?" And I said, "Look, if you're going to be doing small stuff like this, or Luftwaffe, you knew 144th Luftwaffe camo, get a custom micron. You know, it's a great brush, but like you'll see a 48th aircraft in a minute. I don't think you need it on a large palette."
But that's like driving a Ferrari.
Yeah.
meaning that you have to know how to use it.
Yeah,
Right? Like
yeah.
it's not like it's with that comes like there's a certain skill that you have to use it, right? Like if you're
For
just
sure.
beginning,
No.
spending the money on a custom micron
No.
probably isn't the right thing.
No.
Right? But if you're experienced and you're looking to take that next step up and get that that finer spray, then
That's the airbrush. You know what? We'll do an episode on airbrushes. Just talk about airbrushes. But yeah,
that's a great idea. Yeah.
But yeah, this was pretty fast, and the usual muds and washes. I there's not much on the bottom. I do like keeping my 70 seconds fairly clean, because I don't want to cover it up with mud. But it was a fairly quick build and sitting on my shelf. That's another thing about the pandemic. You see, there's something on the shelf. Let's finally get it done. And that was one of them. So another armor piece. Now we're moving into what? Different subjects.
Yeah, we're gonna let's do some aircraft. So we'll start with this guy. So this is the Edward 109 G6. So the 109 G6 is my favorite aircraft. I just love the camo scheme it comes in. I love the bulged for the bigger machine guns on the front. The bulge for the wheels, the landing gear here on the wings. It just looks that and the K, but I always keep coming back.
And the scheme.
I love the G6. So this is like I said, this is Edward, and this is largely out of the box. The only thing I added was I used brass tubing for the under wing mounted 20 millimeter cannons. And you can't really see, but I did use brass machine guns for the fuselage.
You did?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
But you can't see them.
You can clear them.
But you know they're there.
But I know they're there.
That's
and
important.
the detail is better than what you get in the kit. Right? So it's kind of one of those little things that, especially if you're taking it to a show and you're having it judged,
When
right?
you're talking about me and fine work, look at the little scalloping you got on the leading edge. What airbrush you use?
What did I use? I think I used the chrome.
Oh,
Badger Chrome.
the one I haven't used yet?
The one we bought
Yeah.
at one of the amp shows that I used, and that was like four or 5 years ago, and you haven't used it yet?
No.
Oh.
I buy things and I
Well, you got a custom micron. You may as well just throw that chrome away.
I have not used the chrome yet, but I heard they're very good.
Yeah, so so
That's nice.
It's a really nice airbrush. Like we
That's-
got it,
yeah.
we got it for
We
a
got
great
it on
deal.
sale.
Yeah, it was like $80.
Yeah, it was
or
at
something.
Amps. It was at
Yeah,
Amps.
and like amazing airbrush, good movement on the trigger.
Nice.
So all I did was I just
It's tight.
masked this.
Yeah.
I used one of those swivel cutters, and I had to cut it a few times to get it to match
okay.
up, and then just put that on and masked it and sprayed it and painted. It's the kit decals, decals.
Decals. For you American audience.
So it's one of the markings in the kit. Yeah, it was a fun little build. I used Ushi line for the aerial. I used there's a little I think there's an IFF antenna at the bottom that I used fiber optic cable or fiber optic fiber strand that I got from Sandy. Used that. And just mild weathering. I didn't go to town on the weathering on this.
Even on the weathering, do you guys ever seen, for you 109 aficionados, I remember seeing this photo, I think it was on the Eastern Front, this Luftwaffe pilot, just kind of standing, leaning on the rear stabilizer there, and you can see the reflection. And you've got a nice glossy
weathering on aircraft is a very contentious,
another episode.
Yes, that's a very contentious topic. So this was because I think they took care of them. So you got to look at the context of the aircraft was used, right? So I think that they were generally taken care of. They were flying from northwestern European airfields. I think there was a lot of staff to kind of keep the aircraft in fairly clean, good working order. There is somewhere I do have some mud and dust on the wheels. If I flipped it over, you'd see a little bit come out from the wheel wells. Right?
It's landing on a grass field.
But overall, for me, anyways, very, very tame on the weathering.
For this,
yeah. But if I were doing, I want to do a Guadalcanal Wildcat, that is going to get faded, weathered, lots of dust, right? You got the sun, you got the, the elements, right? So
I think there's a new movie out called Devotion with F4U Corsairs in Korea.
Yeah.
And you see they even got, their gloss or something, but then you see photos of them where the gloss is gone, it's dull.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, and I think you touched on it. I think getting photos and if it's in a picture, pictures don't lie.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, but again, we'll do another episode on aircraft.
Episode. That's great.
But yeah, very, very, they're great kits.
Okay, how'd you do the exhaust? I see this nice subtle exhaust stain there on the feet. Is that what I see there? Did you get a bit of exhaust?
Yeah, that's with an airbrush.
With what? Like Tamiya smoke, or what'd you use?
I think I used a combination of flat black and XF10 brown.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
nice,
just kind of worked it in, and then started it off with a lighter, more towards the brown, and then as I brought it in, then I would add a little bit more black and gray to mix.
Beautiful.
I think.
No, that looks about right. There's a bit of brown in there.
Mm-hmm. And I might have, I can't remember if I might have replaced the exhausts. I might have replaced the exhausts because they're hollowed out.
Well, it's been 3 years. No, when did you do this? 3 years ago?
About 2 years. 2 years. Yeah. 2 years-ish. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So. Yeah. So now that the shows are kind of back up. We'll start taking this out to the shows. Mm-hmm. So let's.
We got one more because we got three each.
Let's get your. Let's get your monstrosity on the table.
Monstrosity. I'm not a 48th aircraft model only because of real estate. I don't have a big house.
That is stunning.
But this is continuing with the 48th theme and German. For you folks out there, you'll recognize this as a Heinkel 111, but it's an early version of the Heinkel 111.
You'll never see this on the tables.
Yeah,
what a rare topic.
It's a rare piece.
Especially in the scale.
Yeah, right? It's a big aircraft for me. I'm a 72nd guy again for real estate, but I thought over the pandemic it was sitting. You ever see do you ever happen to you? You're sitting there between projects is probably the hardest thing because what do I build? That one. No, that one? Yeah, and then you spend a day.
That one?
No, I gotta do that one. No, I gotta do that one.
Maybe that one?
So this was staring at, this is actually the old monogram, 111 and 48 scale. It is, what is it, a P? I can't remember. But then there's the Cutting Edge did this uber rare conversion set to convert it back. This one's a B1, I think. And that set I got in Japan years ago, and it's sitting on the shelf. So I said, all right, those two together here. And so this is a Condor Legion 111B that saw service in Spain just before World War II, and you can see she's in the livery of early Luftwaffe. I think RLM, if I got it right, 61, 62, 63. 65 on the underside.
Gorgeous looking camel.
Right? Yeah, there's, again, this on this large size, you're the master at this. Modulation, you have to modulate. Right? Right?
Yeah, it looks too...
It's too...
But it's hard, though.
Especially on these...
Because if you do it too much, it looks awful. right? Like there's just that there's a very fine line in terms of being in the
Yeah, and I tried to be subtle, and it's harder on these multi-scheme because if you just modulate on one color and then apply, it's uneven.
Yeah.
If you follow, you've got to modulate each color
Yeah.
separately with mask. So you do the green, modulate, like you modulate the whole thing. I did it white with black, and then you mask off the green, spray it lightly, and then you mask off this, spray it lightly, so you get the same consistency of color showing through, and you can kind of see it.
So maybe walk us through that.
Yeah.
So you would mask off. So you would do this brown color.
Yeah.
Now, would you do it all in one go as you masked it off to say, hey, I'm going to put the bass on and then I'm going to modulate it?
Yeah,
And then take off and then work on the next section?
Yeah, so the first thing, that's a good point. So if you're modulating a single color aircraft, that's easy. You have a choice of either black panel lines on white base or black basing. We can talk about that in an upper. Those are the two more or less techniques of modulation.
I like black bass.
I do too.
That's what I did on the 109.
Now this one, that's a good point. This one I didn't do black basing because I wanted the panel lines to show up just a bit because it's just so big, as opposed to a marbling effect across all the colors. It's an artistic thing, I suppose. So it's all white, and then you do the panel lines in black. That's your base. That's your modulation base. And then you do these colors separately.
So it's kind of a classic method.
Yeah.
Right? Really?
Yeah. Right? If it's not one over the other, otherwise...
Because with the black basing, that gives you the option of not having to modulate on top.
Correct.
Right? Because you're doing all your modulation underneath, right?
Correct. And it's hard to do a modulation on a triple, right? Because then it's a different colors.
It's a masking exercise.
It's different colors, right? So the underside is RLM, I hope I get this right, 65? Right.
I think that was the light.
Here, now we talk about weathering aircraft. There's MIG powders and the mud splatter effects from Vallejo. And because these things rolled over grass, you can see bits of, it's a nice product, that crushed grass stuff. Isn't that by Vallejo? Crushed grass.
Oh, the mixed in with the yeah.
You get bits of grass, not the like the medical marijuana grass. I'm talking about the model scaling grass. Okay, David. Not that, anyways. So that's a unique model. I haven't brought it up to a show yet. I've not. This one is also in.
You did an article on this, yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying if you want the details, it's in this issue, August 2021. All the details are in here. Steel Aircraft Modeling, great mag. So rather than go over all that, you can pick up an old issue of the 2021 is already old. You get the details of that.
Time flies, eh?
It does.
Crazy.
And there you go. So,
beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love the weathering in the back here.
Yeah, the decals were from the cutting edge. They make a separate decal sheet. Oh, by the way, notice that there's dirt on the rear stabilizer because there's photos that show mud all over. The guys were standing on here to paint the emblem on the back.
Yeah, photos don't lie, right?
Photos don't lie.
Photos do not lie.
Yeah, not an easy conversion to do, but you end up with different wing shape, different engine, different forward. This to the back is essentially your 111 of World War II. This forward is different.
That's beautiful.
Thank you. And there you go. The only other one is a 72nd Rodin kit, which I hear is pretty bad.
Yeah, I've heard horror stories.
But that's what we've been up to, examples.
Yeah, so that's kind of our
kind
of reintroduction, I guess, and we'll kind of we'll continue on getting back to doing some builds. We'll show you how to weather, how to finish,
kit reviews.
Oh,
visits to hobby stores. Maybe we should do that too.
Yeah, we could do that.
We're in Toronto though.
So
we can't visit stores in California.
Japan. Yeah, I've never been, but I heard from you. Right?
We'll do another one. We'll go to Japan
and do trip. Yeah. So we'll kind of we'll kind of get back into it, and looking forward to doing this. Right, it's these are certainly a lot of fun for us to do. So.
We are, and we're going to have some guests come in again.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. We'll have Sandy come back. We'll do some more. We'll do some more on British colors. Mm-hmm. Dave Brown will come back.
Do an issue.
Yeah, he's got he's done some amazing work on some Shermans.
Yeah.
So we'll kind of talk about that. and maybe a few other guests along the way too. So,
Sounds good.
yeah. Anyway, so that's it for this episode. Take care, everybody. It was great being back, and we'll see you next time around.
See you next time.